you're just all about extracting whatever dollar you can from them and nickeling and diming them and not building relationship with people, people will see you exactly for what it is, that you're a transactional person only interested in enriching yourself. And in life, when you view things through a lens of win-win, what can we both get out of it? You're going to win. People will ride or die with you. People will bear with you. People will give you that help. But you have to be a relationship builder.
You're listening to Customer Growth Sessions, presented by Intergrowth, where we talk through strategies to help up-and-coming e-commerce businesses bring in more customers. I'm your host, Pat Ahern. Let's jump in.
Hey listeners, welcome back to the latest episode of Customer Growth Sessions. Today, I'm thrilled to have on Josh Nowack, the co-founder over at Breaking Free Industries. Josh, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Pat. It's great to be here, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me and welcoming onto your podcast.
Yeah, man, we're psyched to have you on. Listeners, for a little bit of additional context, Breaking Free Industries is a screen printing business based in Orange County, California. Not only do they provide exceptional merch and swag, but they also provide help to those in need of a second chance. So with that, Josh, I'd love to start out hearing how you got started with the business.
So I had my own run-in with the law. So I have had an unwitting relationship with handcuffs. Being a former CPA, MBA type, after being incarcerated, then you're like, okay, well, now what am I going to do? Finding a job was incredibly difficult. Any white collar type of job, people would be like, yeah, we're not hiring you, like you, but I can't hire you. And even more menial, like working at, fast food or a supermarket, they would look at my background and they would look at you and like, you are way too polished to be doing work over at Trader Joe's, or you are way too polished to be like selling merchandise over at Guitar Center. So I found myself in this awkward position of I couldn't find a job know-how despite being incredibly qualified. So I had to go back to entrepreneurship. And I'm like, well, it's not just about me. It'll be far easier for me to sell a concept of second chances rather than hire me. And so I've got some pretty cool stories just about like the idea of people want to give second chances. They just don't want to do it personally. So yeah. And that's kind of been my learning opportunity and how I got started.
I love it. I love it. And tell me more about Breaking Free Industries. How do you guys focus on giving second chances?
So everyone who works in our organization needs to have had at least some level of judicial involvement, been charged with a crime, been arrested for a crime, done time, not done time, got away with probation, something where they've been just justice impacted somehow or another. I have a very broad definition of it, but ultimately you've been impacted by the justice system adversely. Because as soon as your name hits the papers or as soon as handcuffs are on your wrist, no matter what happens after that point in time, even if you've been not convicted or exonerated, your life has forever changed because you now have a record. And even though your record, so to speak, might be clean, your stuff is still discoverable in some like corner of the internet of such and such happened to so-and-so in 1985. And our society has evolved to a point to where I'm going to hold that against you. You did something like we've seen in politics. You did something in 1962. It's like, really? That was 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago? Like relevance? But we are very eager to convict someone based upon their past experiences if it's convenient for us.
Absolutely. And what I love on top of running the business, you also spent, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the last 6 years, helping convicted individuals to start their own business, whether it be starting the business, growing, taking it to the next level, you name it. And one of the things I loved, which is it was like how we got started talking together. I gave you a little bit of an overview of the podcast, who we're really trying to help with it. And one of the things that stood out to me is I shared a little spiel that, hey, we're really trying to help listeners who are low end, working, 50, 60 hours a week, really trying to build their e-commerce business from the ground up. And you chimed in and you respectfully said like, maybe I'm not the right fit. I don't think that anyone needs to be spending 50, 60 hours running a business. And I was shocked. It's a perspective I haven't heard very often. So I want to ask you, how is it that you can run a business? How is it that you can start a business successfully without working crazy long hours?
Well, there's no doubt that you have to work hard and be focused and intentional with what you do. No doubt. But there's also an element of you can very easily spin yourself into very much bad health very quickly. I've already been dead once. So, and I'll explain. I'll go there. I'm already on in my second chance at life after incarceration, and a second chance at life literally because I've been dead already. It's not worth it. So the thought process for many founders is, I'm just going to work myself to oblivion. No one else knows this stuff better than me. No one else can do this stuff better than me. No one else is as competent like me. And that's a really egoic thing to say. I call bullshit on a lot of that, because I challenge you to find somebody who can do what you do better than you. Because you know what? There probably is. And when you can find those people and they can help you along the way, then you're not working those 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week. You can keep some semblance of balance and then give other people the opportunity to participate in something better than you can even imagine. Like, for example, I've got this guy. He's got a seasoning business, stuff to put on meat, out in Chicago. He's never had a mentor in his life. His father passed away. He was murdered in front of him at a very young age. So he's never really had a positive male role model. So he's going about doing his stuff, and he's a guy out of the street. He knows how to sell weed. He knows how to sell dope. Got excellent transferable skills on sales skills. But as far as how do you do a legal agreement, he's clueless. He has no idea how do you structure a legal agreement without getting messed over. I mean, there are ways that you handle enforcement in trafficking narcotics. You can't do that in normal business. So how do you kind of conduct yourself? How do you work through legal agreements when you're not used to doing it that way? You can get help. Someone will turn around and say, hey, I can help you. Hey, how do you handle taxes? You're not worried about paying taxes when you're dealing dope. Okay, you find somebody who can help you with that. And my experience is that in general, despite everything that you read and see in the newspapers, we genuinely do believe that we are part of something bigger than ourselves, and we want to help one another out. You just have to do it from a place of like genuine, like, hey, can I pick your brain? If I ask you, you're in the SEO business. If I ask you 2 questions about SEO, you'll probably give me an answer. You might say, hey, that's a fee for service kind of thing. But for the most part, you'll give me a 30-second answer pretty quickly. Most lawyers will give you a 30-second answer pretty quickly. And so when you start asking for some help, you suddenly can realize that you can get your job done in closer to 40, 45 hours instead of 60, 70, 80, 90, and blowing up your family and your health in the process.
We're going to dive deeper into some of those free resources and asking for help. Can you give us the story about how you were dead?
Okay. So imagine, if you will, I get released. It was California winter. I get released and I start training for a half marathon because I had lost a great amount of weight while incarcerated. Cool. You know, I lost, I think, 30 pounds. It was awesome. Probably the best shape of my life so far. And I started training for a half marathon, which was awesome. And I kept on passing this one sign. And it said, get your free heart health check. This is in February, which is Heart Health Awareness Month, which is coming up very shortly. Anyway, I keep passing this sign, get your free heart health check. And mind you, I'm broke as anything because I was served divorce papers. I'm living out of a hostel in exchange for basically doing odd jobs around their house. So I'm kind of living really on the margins here. And so it's free heart health check. I'm like, well, I'm sure I did some damage to my body. Let's go check it out. How bad could it be? So I go ahead and I find out that my blood pressure is amazing. My lab results are shockingly good. All that for eating like absolute crap for my incarceration period. I was kind of blown away. And then I'm like, this is a heart health check, but you haven't listened to my heart. She's like, oh, yeah, you're right. So she takes her stethoscope, puts it onto my heart, and then she goes from this very cheery, like excited kind of position to she turns white as a ghost. And I'm like, that's not good. And then she turns to me and said, do you know you have a heart murmur? I said, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, you've got a heart murmur. It's pretty obnoxious. And I put the stethoscope on for myself, and I hear nothing that sounds like what a heartbeat should sound like. A heartbeat, you've heard it your entire life. You've seen the do-do, do-do. Mine sounded like a 1968 Chevy without a muffler. It was just nothing discernible as a heartbeat. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good. So I leave that appointment thinking, oh, wow, all my lab results are great. Totally in denial of everything that just happened. But I wake up the next morning in a cold sweat saying, she told me I should have this checked out sooner than later. So in a whole panic, I now start kind of remembering, do I have health insurance? How do I see a doctor? And I call up my health insurance company through the state, and they're like, yeah, you can get a doctor's appointment in 3 weeks. I'm like, that won't do. How about today? So I get an appointment, and they're like, yeah, you have a heart murmur. You should have that checked out. I'm like, yes, that's why I'm here. And one doctor led to another doctor, which led to another doctor, which led to me having open heart surgery. In order to fix a heart, you have to kind of stop it because it's kind of hard to operate on something that's moving. So, yeah, flatline, dead. And you kind of hope to God, not only does the most intimidating machine in the world, a heart-lung bypass machine, which acts as your heart while surgery is going on, does its job. You hope to goodness that when they're all done, that the thing restarts. So, thank goodness, I'm here to tell the story.
Wow, that's wild. So, jumping back to getting free help, getting advice. Let's start out with getting the free help side of things. Let's talk to the business owners that say, hey, I'd love to hire a legal expert who can help me with putting together my agreements, or I'd love to help an accountant who can help me out with filing my taxes, but I don't have any sort of budget to work with. How can I structure those asks? How can I find those people to get that free help within reason?
The first place you want to start checking out are one of two places, SCORE, SCORE. That is a connection of just business mentors who are available to you throughout the country, usually either run through the Department of Commerce or the Small Business Administration. These are usually senior executives, senior meaning that they've done it before, not necessarily old, people who have done it and have experience handling a general level of just stuff that goes on with your business. And it's a free resource available to you. And the mentorship is there, and they can answer questions, tell you how to structure things and all that. The second resource, similar but perhaps a little bit more focused, is the SBDC, Small Business Development Commission. Usually it's run as a program, as a joint venture between your state's economic development, a local community college, as well as the SBA. And there you can usually get really targeted information. Like my local SBDC, they've got resources like if you're doing a merger, they've got somebody who's an M&A expert. If you're trying to go for a loan, they've got an SBA lending resource available too that is not there for a fee, but they can help. They've got their series of resources that they can help you with getting lending done through the SBA. They've got people who are lawyers, people that are marketing experts, people that have built websites. Their rub is that they want you to do the work, as they should, but they will step you through step by step of what you need to do, and they are a free resource to you. Now, because it's a joint venture between the SBA, the state, and the local community college, the resources available from one community to another will differ, but check them out. These are people who are already committed to your business success because, above all, with all the claptrap of the politics aside, contrary to what we might think, small business is the heartbeat of American ingenuity. It is the heartbeat of American business. It is what drives the economy overall. And I will take that to anybody who says, oh, they only help people that are big businesses or people that are minorities. This is just claptrap and not true. The idea of Americans and entrepreneurship is intertwined, and today's Microsoft is right now in somebody's garage. There is somebody right now in the garage that is working on something that's going to revolutionize our world, much like, call it in 1976, I think it's 76, Steve Jobs, Wozniak, they're sitting there developing Apple. Somebody right now is developing the next breakthrough right now in their garage, and it's going to start off as a two-person team. It's kind of funny when you think about some of these brand names that we know and love and trust today. Harley Davidson, it wasn't always the phenomenon that it is. It started with two guys, Harley and Davidson, working on a motorcycle. Hewlett Packard, same thing, two guys working. Like these businesses who have names that we just take for granted are usually like legit people who sat in their garage and figured this stuff out, and then they grew a company around them. So it might be a little bit of American pie and a little idealistic, but these things do happen. And there are people out there who understand it, and the government's willing to fund these organizations to help you realize your dreams and aspirations. Will every business survive? No, of course not. Will your idea thrive? I don't know. But it shouldn't be, hey, let me just figure what I can figure out. Yeah, YouTube's great. But, there's something when you talk to somebody else that you feel like you're in it with somebody else, and they have a vested interest in your success. and they can point out things that are just totally blind to you, because you can be like, hey, I'm going to solve it just this way. Okay, that might not be the best way. And then you look at ChatGPT and what it can do, and you're like, oh my gosh, the technology that's available is incredible. But still, ChatGPT is generally going to be complimentary to you. They're not going to say, hey, you've got 3 blind spots here. When you talk to somebody independently who's done it before, they'll say, that's great. Watch out for X, Y, and Z. That's great. Get yourself an NDA. That's great. An NDA is great, but make sure that, do you trust the guy anyway? Because if you're relying on that piece of paper, you're going to need a lawyer to back it up. Having somebody who's gone through that trial by fire already is invaluable. No computer will be able to match it. I know AI is getting incredible, but somebody to call nonsense and say, hey, this is not going to work, try it this way, because they've done it before, is helpful.
Hey listeners, Pat from Intergrowth here. Field of Dreams was an exceptional movie, but man, did those guys get it wrong. If you build it, they will not come. We've been helping e-commerce brands since 2016 to acquire new customers more profitably. So after that website that you built goes live and when no one's coming in the door, we help you to get to the next stage. Interested in learning a little more? Go to intergrowth.com/CGS to schedule a complimentary consultation call with me and get to learn all about how we help businesses to level up. Once again, that's intergrowth.com/CGS. So one of the things I want to pick your brain on is how you can ask for help within your network. And I think listeners who are hearing this, I know this was the thought that crossed my mind when you first shared this with me. I was a little skeptical and thinking, if you ask too many favors of your network, maybe they start looking at you in a different light. Maybe they start getting annoyed, exasperated, you name it. In your eyes, how can you structure requests for help from, people that you're already close to, call it your LinkedIn community, friends, family, you name it, so that they don't see you as a nuisance and they are willing to help you out?
2 things, specificity and relationship building. Don't always call up with a favor to ask. Buy dinner from time to time. Build a relationship. Be legitimate friends with somebody. Don't just call them when you need something. And then when you do call, be specific. I need someone who understands small business taxation. I need to get my taxes done. I'm looking for somebody who can help me with my terms and conditions on my website. When you get more and more specific, then people are like, I know somebody who does that. If you just say, I'm stressed out, okay. That's information. But when you say something like, I could really use some help structuring this web page differently, that's a very different request of saying my website sucks. When you're making a thoughtful request of what you need, I forget who said it, but like a problem well defined is half solved. So it's like, if you know what you're asking for, the solution almost starts to present itself. And then it makes it so much easier for me to say, do I know a CPA that can help somebody with a sales tax issue in the state of New York? Versus, accountants suck. Or let me go on YouTube and figure this out. Or I'm getting audited, let me figure this out. Like, if you turn around and say, I am looking for somebody that knows, and you don't need to have, I need to find an expert in, just somebody who knows, someone who can help me through this type of, you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed.
Brilliant. One of the other themes I wanted to pick your brain on is...
Oh, wait, one second, pause. Another way to think about it, what is the worst that somebody says? If they say no, who cares? It's almost like we're so fearful of being told no. Like, if I ask a gal out on a date and she says no, okay. It's just like on sales. I know if I talk to enough people, eventually somebody's going to tell me they don't want my cotton. That's okay. If I put out a request out for help and someone says, I can't help you, that's okay too. The worst that they say is going to be no. And if they judge me, look, I've already been in the media as being an embezzling thief. What can you possibly say to me that's going to be more offensive? How can you tell me no that I haven't heard before? I've been in prison. What are you going to tell me that's going to offend me? No, thank you. No, sir. You're an idiot. I've heard it all. You're not going to offend me. If you can figure out a way to offend me, I'll probably give you a gold star and a beer. I don't care. So if I'm going to ask for help, and the worst thing that you can possibly tell me is it's the worst idea you ever heard, I'm a big boy. I can handle that. I could handle if you told me, hey, but you're screwed. Okay, well, now I know. Like, we're so fearful of being judged. Who cares about the judgment? Let me check my ego at the door and say, I need help more than I need a threat, like more than I need a healthy ego. I want my success more than I need the esteem of being something that I'm not anyway. Because if I were successful beyond wild imaginations, I wouldn't be needing the help. So let's just accept reality is that I need help. Somebody out there is smarter than me. Somebody out there who's probably done this already. And let me ask for help. And again, the worst thing that they say is no. That's the worst that they can do. They can't do anything more than that.
That's a great point.
That's it.
I love that. I love that. And I find particularly on the sales side of things, that's like a big, I think that's for a lot of founders and for myself personally, like when I got started doing sales, that was a really tough first step, was getting that first no, realizing, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, getting a few more no's, and eventually you get a yes, or you get the, oh, well, I can help out in this way, whatever it may be. But yeah, to your point, getting those initial no's, they're nowhere near as scary as you envision them being in your head. And once you get those out of the way, then you can get people who are genuinely interested in helping you and do have the capacity to help you because they've done these things before.
So also, if you're already having the conversation, they're half sold. And if that's your mentality around it, that I don't want to say it's yours to lose, because then if you still lose it, then you're like, okay, what did I do to fuck it up? But if they're already half sold by virtue of having that conversation, like we're already talking here, and I used to say this in my CPA practice. People were like, well, what makes you different? It's not saying not a darn thing. You can go down the block and talk to H&R Block and probably get the same return. Well, why should I use you? I said, well, we're having this conversation already. So given that we're already having this conversation, you probably already trust me. Maybe you shouldn't have. But you probably trust me. There's somebody already who has done business with me that had a positive experience. You're already dissatisfied with somebody else. So might as well, let's give this a shot. The worst thing that happens here is you don't enjoy the experience and you go see somebody else next year. What's the risk to you? In my line, when I'm closing business, and I always ask for payment up front because I don't want to chase receivables. Well, what if I don't like the job? I'm like, well, charge it back. But I'm not going to spend my time chasing you down for dollars on a job that once I put into cotton, I can't sell your shirt to somebody else. Nobody's going to want Mickey's Great Adventure on their shirts. So as soon as I put the ink to paper, I'm now at risk. I've already spent the money for the shirts. I've already spent the labor to get you your apparel. And if you don't like it, based upon you already signed the mock-ups, you already signed everything off. If you don't like it and I can't make it right, then charge it back. I'll give you your money back. I don't care. But I'll be damned if I'm going to chase you for money. Because when I first got started, common founder issue, I had a person say they ordered their shirts and come the day of delivery, it was the day of their event and she had no money. And it was the day of their event. So I'm like, you know what? The shirts are already done. If you're going to screw me, you're going to screw me. I might as well take the shirts. I'm going to trust that you're going to come back and pay me. But tomorrow those shirts are worthless to us both. And I said to myself, we're not doing this again.
Hey, listeners, if you're terrified about how much your business's revenue comes from Amazon, this is for you. I get it. Amazon's a double-edged sword. It's a really powerful sales channel, but at the same time, become too reliant on Amazon and you put yourself in a dangerous scenario where you're just biding your time until Amazon cannibalizes all your sales and rolls out the Amazon Basics version of your product. I've seen it happen a lot of times. That's ultimately why we help businesses to diversify away from Amazon by building a secondary and then tertiary revenue stream so that if Amazon rolls out the Amazon Basics version of your product, you don't see your sales go down to zero. If you're interested in learning more, book a free strategy session with me at intergrowth.com/CGS, Once again, that's intergrowth.com/CGS. One of the things you shared that really, really resonated with me in particular is, oftentimes if you're selling a product, selling a service, there's going to be competitors in there. And this is a new tactic I've started taking on the sales side of things, that if you're in that conversation where, customer or potential customer says to you like, oh, well, why wouldn't I go to, competitor X, competitor Y for, this exact same product, this exact same service? What I'm finding is way more effective is, rather than trying to like argue and say, oh, hey, we're the best solution for this case, come back to them and say, I don't know, why are you going with me, or why are you talking to me instead of going to this competitor? If they cite pricing as the big argument, you could say, yeah, I'm curious, why are you talking to me still? It sounds like you found an option that's a better price. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back to you and say, oh, well, because you either seem the most trustworthy, or you have the highest quality product, or you have this, or you have that, and this other competitor doesn't have it. And from there's your entire selling point. If they say, hey, you have a higher quality product, boom, that's why you're charging 20% more, whatever it may be for it.
That's such a great point, because all too often I'll hear, especially when I've done consulting work for other entrepreneurs, it's like they're always trying to compete on price. It's like, you will never win a price war. So don't compete on price. I'm not saying you have to be the highest guy. I'm not saying to be the lowest guy, because someone will always work for less. Be in the middle-ish. We set our prices slightly below market. Ever so slightly below market. Because I don't want to be told no on price. But I'm certainly not going to be the highest price, and I'm not going to be the lowest price. If you want to get it done cheaper somewhere else, please go ahead, have a great time. But the challenge I think most entrepreneurs face is that when the customers don't perceive the difference in the value that you do versus your competitor, they're going to default to the cheapest. And
Definitely.
an easy example would be, I can take a flight from New York to Los Angeles, and Spirit might offer a fare for $200, and United might offer it for $400. And if you've ever flown Spirit Airlines, beyond you paid $20 for a square of toilet paper, you can realize that pretty quickly you can get up to that $400 fare, and you understand the value proposition, but you understand the value and how it works all the way around, and you understand that pricing isn't everything, that the experience also becomes important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Josh, last big theme I want to pick your brain on today before we wrap up is pricing, because this is something you and I were chatting about before recording. Right now in the e-com space, tariffs are a big theme, particularly in the US and in Canada. A lot of businesses that I'm talking to are dealing with this issue where cost of manufacturing is going up pretty significantly. And all of a sudden, they're finding a scenario where either their margins are cut in half, or maybe they're at a point where they're saying like, hey, we can't stay in business if we keep this same pricing. We need to raise prices. What advice are you giving to businesses you advise on how to approach that conversation of raising prices with your customers?
It's always really delicate. And I think what you wanted to fall back on is, we have a relationship based on trust and integrity. Pat, I've done your apparel work for quite some time. I'd like to think I've built up credibility with you on doing a good job for you for a fair price. My costs have risen by 30%, to the point to where I can no longer honor this price. I could work for it at a loss, but let's face it, you wouldn't want me to do that, and I just can't. So I've absorbed as much price increase as I can. As a result, I'm going to have to increase your price from $7 to $7.20, $7 to $7.30. And I assure you, as soon as the market comes back, if I can return back to our normal pricing, we can revisit the pricing in 3 months, 6 months. Hopefully, once the things kind of settle down, we can revisit pricing again. If we can get back to the profitability and the right margins, I'm happy to do it. But for now, given the economic current that we're in, this is what we as an organization need to do. And I trust that based upon integrity, how I've been transparent with you about my business practices before. You know what we're about and what we're trying to do. And I just can't bear the cost. I can't cover this cost anymore. And we're embedded in what I'm sharing with them and sharing with my clients is I'm being transparent, I'm being honest, and I'm leaning into our relationship, which is based on integrity. There are many business relationships where it's a matter of convenience and it's cost and I'm the cheapest guy. That's why you don't want to compete on price anyway, because as soon as the price jumps up by 25%, they're going to go somewhere else. But if you're open and transparent and saying, hey, look, a couple of years ago with COVID, cotton prices were going through the roof. And 1 month to the next, I didn't know what my cotton costs were going to be. And what I mean by cotton, my t-shirts and all that. So I started 1 month, it might be $3. Next month, it's $3.50. And these things add up. And I had just started, so I didn't really have that credibility built in yet. So these were all new customers anyway, so it wasn't as big of a deal. But once you lean into a relationship and you've built relationships, same thing when we're asking for help. When you have a relationship with a customer, they will ride or die with you. But if you're just all about extracting whatever dollar you can from them and nickeling and diming them and not building relationship with people, people will see you exactly for what it is, that you're a transparent you're a transactional person only interested in enriching yourself. And in life, when you view things through a lens of win-win, what can we both get out of it? You're going to win. People will ride or die with you. People will bear with you. People will give you that help. But you have to be a relationship builder. I've had 2 people in my life that are the most transactional people I've ever met. I don't know which one's more transactional. When the phone rings, I know there is a request for me to do something for them, and that's why they're calling. And it's always immediate need. Without regard to what I'm doing, it's, hey, it would be like 6:30 at night. Can we meet for dinner? I already ate, dude. I need to ask you a favor. And it's like, build a relationship with people. That means talking about, hey, I know, Pat, you've got your almost 2-year-old kid. How's he doing? How's your wife doing? How's life doing? And some of you might be a little bit kind of pretentious and doing small talk might be a little hard. But genuinely care about other people and they will genuinely care about you. And will it work every time? No, sometimes the margins don't work and the margins don't work. Away you go. Also, be incredibly creative. Go to that network and saying, hey, you know what? Tariffs are an issue. Can I get this domestically? Be willing to rethink your supply chain. 97% of the world's t-shirts come from outside the U.S. The U.S. only has 3% of the market. That means 3% of the market is still U.S. based. That means 3% of the market is not going to be subject to tariffs. Okay, what's the cost if I get it domestically produced? Like, think creatively around your scenario. Don't just look at, say, well, gee, the price of my commodity went up by 10%. I'm going to raise my prices by 10%. You can, but be thoughtful. Build a relationship both with your suppliers, with your customers, your stakeholders, people around you. Be that person. Someone's like, you know what? I call that person just to ask them, where do I buy milk? Because that person just knows and they're willing to give their information freely. They're cool people, and I'm going to buy from them whenever I can. And I'm going to steer business to them because they're cool people. Be that guy. Be that person. Be that gal. Be that person that wants to help, and it comes back to you every single time. Yes, will somebody try and mess you over? Yes, that happens. Be a felon. People don't mess with you.
Josh, this has been amazing. For listeners that are looking for custom apparel for their business, where can they go to learn about Breaking Free Industries?
BreakingFreeIndustries.com. Pretty straightforward. On socials at BreakingFreeBFI, but BreakingFreeIndustries.com. Would love to get you clothed and outfitted as you wish. We don't have minimums. We don't have maximums. And we just try to make sure that you look all sharp and represent your brand the best you possibly can.
Once again, listeners, this is Josh Nowak, the co-founder over at Breaking Free Industries. Josh, thank you for coming on today.
My honor, my privilege. Thank you so much for creating the space for us to chat today.
Thanks for tuning in to Customer Growth Sessions. If you found it helpful, subscribe and give us a review. It helps us to grow the show. Looking for more SEO guidance on how to grow your business? Contact us at intergrowth.com/estimator or email me directly. You can reach me at pat@intergrowth.com. That's all for today. We'll see you again soon.